And we are recording now, and I'm going to share my screen with you so you can see the slide deck. And hopefully everybody can see my slide deck. Can you see it okay? Hazel, you see it all right? Good. So welcome today to Biz Dev for Life Coaches that really works. I hope you'll agree with me at the end of this that it does work. My name is Bruce Firestone. I have a bachelor's degree in civil engineering from McGill University, and I did my Master's of Engineering Science at the University of New South Wales in Sydney. And then I got a PhD in urban economics from the Australian National University in Canberra. And today I'm 67 years of age and I run my own coaching practice. But my coaching practice is not life coaching. So for all the life coaches on this call and for any that will listen to it in the future, I apologize if I'm stepping on any toes. Don't tell me. Yeah, because you know, I'm not trained as a life coach. I know you guys all are. So I'm a real estate investment and business coach. I'm also a real estate broker with Century 21 Explorer Realty, and I'm probably best known as the founder of the Ottawa Senators, which is a National Hockey League team. But that's a long time ago. I put that on there because certainly in certain communities I'm best known. And I have 3 taglines, which you can see at the bottom if you follow my cursor. I make the impossible possible. And I help people find freedom by real estate investment and development of a personal business for life. And I'm also part of a movement. It's kind of a worldwide movement, or at least we're hoping it will be, called the FEHAJ movement. You can sort of see that down below. It's FEHAJ. And that's not my term. It's actually a term from an architect in Gatineau, Quebec. Her name is Isabelle Bradbury, and she coined the term "for every home a job." And I bet you everybody on this call and the people who will be listening to it also have you know, home office. So for every home a job, you guys kind of get the hang of that. So I was asked by Dawn Firestone, she's the president of ICF Ottawa, if I would do this. She's also my spouse. She's my better half in every sense of that word, or the term. And I kind of described what I'm doing today, but I'm going to try and help life coaches, because one of the things that I found out from talking to ICF and talking to, obviously, to Dawn, is that some life coaches are doing very well, but many of them are just doing okay. And so biz dev is some kind of an area, business development is an area where I think people really suffer a little bit, maybe suffer from stage fright, lack of confidence, not knowing what sequence to do things in. And so I thought if I could help, I was asked obviously by ICF Ottawa to contribute something today. So I'm going to do my best for you all. Here's my Twitter length CV. Bruce is an entrepreneur, real estate broker, developer and coach, urban guru, keynote speaker, Sen's founder, blogger, novelist, peerless husband and dad. Now, you guess who wrote that? Yeah, I did. Especially the last part, you know, the peerless husband and dad. Yeah, that was all me. So that's me. And by the way, if you want, Dawn will send to everybody a bonus copy of a book I wrote. This is a book about the Ottawa Senators, and you might say, well, I'm not a hockey fan, but it actually has 4 or 5 themes in it. There's quite a bit of real estate in it, quite a bit of business, and there's a personal story, my story, of how you become such a crazy entrepreneur that you want to buy an NHL expansion franchise. And just so you know, there's an inside joke in the NHL which goes like this: the second happiest business day of your business life is the day you buy an NHL franchise. The happiest day of your business life is the day you sell it. And and Dawn, who's been my spouse for many, many decades now, would back me up on this. So there you go. But if you want, you'll get a free copy of that, an e-copy of that from Dawn Firestone. So most of this, the early part of this stuff, you guys are going to know inside and out. But the 5 steps to get your first coaching clients look kind of like this. Hang on, I've just got some typing going on, so I'm going to mute that person. Number 1, you've all heard it before, but this is really crucial to any coaching practice. Define your irresistible niche. You know, you can't just be all things to all people and you think that'll get you more business. It will not, at least in my opinion. All right. So my niche is I help people build their very own personal business for life and above average performing real estate portfolio so they can take care of themselves and their families for 3 generations. That's kind of my elevator pitch. It probably is about a 12-second elevator pitch. And this is Dawn's. I wrote Dawn's down here. This is her niche. I help men of a certain age with difficult transitions. And that's kind of where she is, right? So men who are suffering from divorce or job loss or financial challenge, or they want to change careers, they're having trouble with their focus. That's kind of Dawn's thing. So it's men of a certain age. I would qualify. And guys, stop me if I'm going down the wrong road or you have a question. Don't forget. Now, one of my friends is a life coach, and it's not Dawn. And she has on her website, this is what she does. And you can see my printing up above. This is not a niche. Okay, I want everybody to be clear about this. If you think you can do diet and weight loss and divorce and family coaching and financial coaching and goal setting and health and physical and time management and spirituality, this is not a niche. And it's very hard for all of us to get anyone's attention. And if I were to go into a cocktail party and I was this life coach and they say, well, this is what I do, they say, oh, really? It means you don't do anything, right? So this is not a niche. So this is a no-no in my mind. And I have another life coach friend, and she coaches teens, troubled teens. That's her niche. And the good news for her is that she has an unlimited supply of troubled teens. You know, Dawn and I have 5 kids, so we know something about having teenagers, although they're all in their 20s now. There's an unlimited supply of troubled teens and their parents as clients. And she has a very successful, well into the 6 figures practice. So she's well above average, but she's got a very tight, defined niche. All right. So what did she do? I asked her that when I was getting ready to do this webinar for ICF Ottawa. I asked her, what do you do to get people interested in your life coaching for troubled teens? She's all over Facebook. So she has her own Facebook group. It's free. You can form your own Facebook group. I have one. It's not life coaching for troubled teens. It's called the ROI group, the Return on Investment group, for obviously real estate. But she has a Facebook group that's free to join, and she is on that thing every day, and not in a salesy way. Nobody wants to hear a sales pitch through social media. Everybody thought, oh, I'll be on Twitter, I'll be on Instagram, I'll have a snap, chat video and stuff like that, and I'll sell. That's not what they want. So what she does is she engages, right? So people will say, look, I'm having this problem. Oh, she'll say, well, some parents tried this and some teenagers tried that. Do you think you could try that? And so people learn. So it's more learning, right, than sales. And she gets into these very long conversations through Facebook. And you might say she's giving away the store. I know a lot of people are concerned about that, but in fact, that's not what happens. What happens is after a period of days or weeks, sometimes months, in 1 or 2 occasions, years, the parents will finally give up, or the team will finally give up. Can we meet? Can we do a Zoom meeting? Can I meet you in person? I need some more help than I'm able to get just by, Facebook messaging. And the other thing that she does, she's really good at, is she's big on LinkedIn. And again, not to sell, but to engage people in conversation. So it is a social media strategy, but it's not very salesy. It's more about learning. Step 2, who is your ideal client? You can't find clients unless you know who they are, or you have a pretty good idea who they are. So what are my clients like? When I started this coaching thing, after I left the University of Ottawa, I was teaching there as a prof there, and I retired at 60 or 61, and I started doing this coaching thing. I thought about 90% of my clients would be male, but they are not. About 60% are male and 40% are female, and the age range is incredible. It's from 22, my oldest client is 87, turning 88, all right? But these are, again, people in transition, government employees who are maybe not happy, tech workers who are getting forced out at 40 or 45 years of age. I've got lots of ambitious young people who want to start their own businesses and who are interested in real estate, and people with a burning desire to act and change their lives. That's kind of my client. And the 40% of my clients that are female are many women in their 30s and 40s and 50s who have come to the realization that by the time they're in their 50s or 60s or 70s, 80s, they're going to be on their own. And the reason they know that is if you go to any retirement residence within, 100 kilometers of where you live, and there's a retirement residence with 135 rooms, 128 of them are likely to be women, and 7 will be men, because all the men are dead. And so there are an incredible lot of women who've come to me and say, Bruce, I have to have my own business. I have to have some real estate, maybe just my own house or my own house and a few rentals, but I need to take care of myself and my kids, just because when you look down the road a little bit, most of the men, unfortunately, I don't know if we have any men on this call other than me, but most of the men are dead. So there you go. So I have a pretty good idea what my client looked like, and therefore I have an idea now, where do I find those people, right? And then you have to define what is the irresistible outcome of your coaching, right? So if you have a niche, you have an idea who your client is, you got to be able to communicate, hey, this is an irresistible, you can't turn it down, right? So for me, it was, hey, I'll help you develop a highly profitable real estate portfolio, a successful personal business for life, a cash engine, a 1-year exit strategy, especially for government and tech workers who want to, be free of their bosses. And more recently, I've been developing family offices for people. That means a focus on taking care of themselves and their families for 3 generations. And that has really hit a chord, all right? So that's kind of what I think my niche is and what the results could be. And you have to do that for yourself. Now, the next question is, how do you actually market? We heard about a life coach who's very heavily engaged with her Facebook group and her LinkedIn contacts, so that's working really well for her. Everybody's going to be different. Marketing is a bit of an art. It's not a science. Anybody who tells you it's a science is lying to you. And it's more complicated than you might think. Marketing is like a bowl of spaghetti. It's a pretty complicated pattern. And what happens with marketing is maybe you're doing 5 things in marketing and you think, well, this one thing isn't really working, and you take it out and then everything else stops. So it's not only complicated, it's also interlinked. So you've got to find, your own thing that works. I'm looking actually to see if I have my easy button. The Staples easy button? You've got to find an easy button. And every time you push on that button, another client appears. It cannot be so difficult for you to find clients that it requires a level of heroism and time and money to invest in. I mean, if you guys spend $100,000 a week on Facebook advertising, I could spend $100,000 a week on Facebook advertising and not get a single client. Right? That would sink my practice in no time, right? So we've got to find things that work and are cost effective. So what do I do?
I have a question.
Yeah, sure. Ms. President.
Yes. My question is, I see on your list here, there are lots of things that relate to real estate that are physical things like lawn signs and door hangers and all that kind of stuff. Is there anything that you can think of that would relate particularly to coaching?
Yes, 100%. And so some of the stuff that I highlighted this morning, Dawn, like the Facebook group and the LinkedIn interactions, that one life coach I talked to last week about this. So that's very specific to what I think can work. It certainly is working for at least one life coach. So I did put that there. I also highlighted in red on this slide that you see here, Dawn, lots and lots of testimonials. Like even if you only have 4 or 5 clients or 2 or 3, it doesn't matter. Ask for testimonials, because that's really important. You guys know when you buy a novel, you always look at the back. Washington Post says it's a page turner. The New York Times says couldn't put it down. You buy the book, right? So you need testimonials. But the first 4 or 5, Dawn, on my list here are directly relevant to life coaching. And that is, I do, and I think most of you can do, lots of these free webinars. You can do it on Zoom. I think a Zoom subscription is around $10 a month, and it's probably the most important tool, or one of the most important tools I use. So you can do lots of free webinars. I think for $10 a month, I get up to 100 people on a Zoom call, which is more than enough for me. I do lots of blogging, and I do lots of writing, and I have a very well-developed YouTube channel. And that's really, these are important kinds of things.
I just thought of something that might work for life coaches here, and that is you can post for free on Eventbrite, or you can start a meetup.
Exactly, exactly. I'm sure that I should add that to the list. And I have to say, Dawn, I know it's considered now old-fashioned marketing, but email still is a tremendous, tremendous marketing a tool for me. I do lots and lots of one-on-one emails, and I'll talk more about that too. And I do some piggybacking too, which I'll have to explain in a second. All right, and here's
Bruce, can I ask, Dawn was saying post for free on Eventbrite, and what was the last one you mentioned, Dawn?
You have to unmute yourself.
Yeah, I did that. Yeah, you can start a meetup. So say
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
All right. So thank you, Dawn. Thank you, Suzanne. All right. So I get lots of these testimonials. Here's one from Brian Dagenet. I think I've learned more from Prof. Bruce in the past year than I had in the entire decade prior. My collective rents are much higher and my vacancy rate much lower than when I first came to see Bruce. And then you read the rest of it. I wrote that. Right? So a lot of testimonials, if you ask your clients for testimonials, they'll say, absolutely, Hazel, you are the best. I love you to bits, or Suzanne, or Dawn, or Daniela, or whoever else is on the call. Oh, you're great. And sure, I'll do it. And then they'll never do it. So what I do is I ask them, well, how's the coaching been for you? And I take some notes. Then I write the testimonial and I send it to them. I said, would you consider this? Is this an appropriate testimonial for you? And can I use it on my website or in my advertising? And most people will say, oh, that's great. They might tinker with the words, but you have to actually create at least the first draft of it, okay? And then, of course, you have to get permission. So that's what I do. If you don't have any testimonials, use Red Adair. I love this. Red Adair, when I was a kid, I'm a lot older than I think most of you guys, but when I was a kid, he was my hero. He was an oil firefighter. If you had an oil fire, Red Adair was the guy you called. And I think when the Iraqis fired all the Kuwaiti wells when they were leaving Kuwait, they called Red Adair. I think that was his last mission on Earth. And he put them out. They said it would take, I think they said it would take 10 years to put all those fires out. He did it in, I think, a year. And so he said this, and it really means a lot to me. If you think it's expensive to hire a professional to do the job, wait until you hire an amateur. And I'm going to tell you that the most important thing that I have done in probably 35 or 40 years of a career is I hired a life coach at age 60 or 61 when I was leaving the University of Ottawa, and I wanted to get on to the next phase of my life, which wasn't just to sit at home and watch TV or play golf. I hate golf. And I hired a life coach, and she really helped me narrow my focus and got me going. So I am extremely grateful for coaching. So I am a huge believer in life coaches, just so you all know. And if I were to own the Ottawa Senators again, the very first thing I would do is I would hire a life coach for every single one of my players. I'm not kidding. About half of NHL hockey players are bankrupt within 5 years of ending their playing career, even after earning millions of dollars. And about 75% of National Football League players are broke within 5 years. So I think life coaches have a tremendous amount to contribute. And I'm not just saying it because I'm talking to you guys. I believe in it. So I talked about email piggybacking, and this is a part of Ottawa. It's in the west end of Ottawa. It's called Canada North, and that is the second or first largest concentration of tech workers in this area. And the Canada North BIA, Business Improvement Area, sends out a newsletter roughly once a month to about 20,000 people. So when I got into coaching, I asked, who are my clients? And a lot of tech workers around 40 or 45 are ready for a transition. Their bosses are looking at them saying, well, John over here is getting a little bit old. We could get somebody younger and cheaper to do the same job, and maybe he or she would be faster. So let's push John out the door. So a lot of these tech people, I said, gee, I bet you they'd be interested in some kind of new business. Maybe I could coach them on that, or they might be interested in doing some real estate investing. Maybe I could coach them on that. So I contacted the BIA, the Business Improvement Association or area, and I said, you have a newsletter? Yes, we do. Can I advertise in it? And they said, oh, I'm not sure if we'd allow that. And then they had a discussion. You can see now, every time the Canada North BIA newsletter goes out, you can sort of see on my screen here, they're pitching it now. But I started them down that road. I said, gee, why don't you allow some people to advertise to that? So they obviously can't give me their 20,000 email addresses, which would be nice, only it's illegal. And so I could send it out directly, but I can put in a picture of myself and a little blurb about what I do, and it goes to 20,000 people that I don't know, but they are my perfect client target. It cost me $1,000 to do that, and I got about 11 or 12 coaching clients from that. So the ROI on that was really good. And if I'm doing a webinar, remember I talked about webinars, and I think life coaches can do that. You can piggyback. You can't ask them for email addresses, but you can say, can I advertise in your newsletter? And life coaches, as long as you have a defined niche, think about that if you were a life coach for troubled teens. Trust me, the Canada North BIA has 20,000 people on their newsletter list who get that thing. A lot of those people have teenagers, and a lot of those teenagers would be trouble. So you can actually get a huge exposure for not very much money, and build, I think, quite people will contact you, and then you can add them to your newsletter with their permission. Here's some other organizations that I piggyback on. This is RAIN, which is based in Toronto, Real Estate Investment Network. But obviously, if you have your niche, you will find your own organizations that will have newsletters and may allow some advertising in it. So RAIN is one of mine. Oreo is on Ottawa Real Estate Investors Organization. This is a national Canadian real estate wealth. So I can piggyback on all kinds of other newsletters that are going to my target audience. And that's how I've been developing a practice in the United States. And by the way, I bill in US dollars in the United States, so that helps me a little bit too, right? All right, so step 4, market the heck out of what you do. And this is the toughest thing for a lot of life coaches, because many of them, and Dawn asked me to address that, which I will before we finish today. Many of them are wonderful life coaches. They're better trained than I'll ever be. And Dawn is a better life coach, not life coach, but coach than I'll ever be. She's better trained and better. But a lot of them aren't comfortable with saying, I'm great, or telling stories about themselves. But you do have to sort of push yourself. I know you guys know how to push your clients, to be a little bit, to go a little bit beyond what you might expect from them. And that's part of your job, but maybe you could do that for yourself. And here's a typical thing that I would do. I went to do an interview, wide-ranging interview with a former student on a student radio station, CKCU. And afterwards, I sent them copies of Don't Back Down, that book that if you want a copy, Don would be happy to provide you with one. And sure enough, one of them reached back. I think there were three guys and myself in this interview that we did for about half an hour on the radio. And one of them reached back for real estate advice. Who knew, right? So free stuff, you should have some free stuff. It might be some blog articles that you've written that you think might be relevant to somebody, or it could be a book, or it could be just a YouTube video that you created. But giving people free stuff engages a reflex in human beings called reciprocity. I'm sure you all know what that is. And you give them free stuff, they think, gee, Hazel's a good guy, and Suzanne is really, she's kind and generous, and Bruce is a nice guy. And this last one on my list here, the ABC is, again, you're going to really struggle with it, some of you. ABC, always be closed. I go to a cocktail party. Hi, I'm Bruce Firestone. I'm a real estate investment and business coach. You want to hear more about it? I mean, I'm terrible, right? I mean, Dawn's embarrassed she won't be seen with me, right? She pretends she doesn't know me. But I have a pretty successful practice, and I'm not afraid to tell people what it is I do. I do have a promotional product. This is Dawn and I have. This is our youngest son, Matthew, and he is modeling this thing, this Prof. Bruce wristband. And this wristband of mine has been a real success. So I have a promotional product. I guess it sounds kind of corny, but I have a promotional product, and it's meant in a good way. And the promotional product, this is the wristband that you see Matthew modeling here and me just a moment ago. It only has 4 words on it. It has verify, believe, know, and act. And what I tell all the people I coach, and even the people who are thinking about coaching, they get a wristband from me. I'll actually put it in the snail mail. I'll get their address. And I did 3 of them yesterday. coaching prospects, and they get a little blurb on my wristband, which is called the Power Circle, and I actually snail mail it to people. Okay, and I tell them there are 4 words, Prof. Bruce, power words in the Power Circle. Verify you should not have anybody in your life that you don't like and don't trust. And if the one thing I've learned, number one thing in life is trust, right? If you don't trust your wife or your husband or your children or your workmates, you've got a bad environment, and you have to change that. The next word I put on there is believe, and that was more for my female clients than for my male clients. Men seem to have a certain innate confidence, maybe overconfidence, and women not enough. And I said to my 3 daughters, I wish I could invent a perfume called confidence that every morning they could dab it on, because these kids are fantastic. But, the men have no problem asking for a raise or asking for a deal or asking for a client to sign on the bottom line. My female clients have a little bit more of a struggle with that. And I think there's a book called Lean In, and I get them to read that. I think it was written by Sandberg from Facebook, excuse me. So believe is really important. Have confidence in yourself. No is a word that I get a lot of the male clients I have to say, which is stop doing 20 things, stop doing 40 things, and that's including yours truly. I was doing way too many things. Focus. That's really important. You want to have success in anything, focus. And the last thing, of course, you all know, act. If you do want to change your life, if you don't act, your life will never change. So there you go. But think about that. I put my brand in their hand, right? And I do that, and again, it engages this reciprocity thing, and next thing I know, I have more clients. This is Bernard Shaw. He said, people are always blaming their circumstances for what they are. I don't believe in circumstances. The people who get on in this world are the people who get up and look for the circumstances they want. And if they can't find them, they make them. And that's a really important message. I repeat it over and over again. Act to change your life. You guys all know that. So the next thing I do is I qualify my clients, and I'm sure you all do, and I won't go through all the details of how I qualify them, but I qualify them by doing 2 things. I do a clarity call, so half an hour to 45 minutes. Before I will accept anybody as a client, they have to get on a Zoom call like this and talk to me for half an hour and 45 minutes, and I reject quite a few clients because I want those clients to be really committed to those 4 words and to changing their lives. And if they're not, I don't want to coach them. And I tell them that in a nice way. And then I also get them to write down stuff. So what experience do they have in business or real estate? What are their greatest strengths? What are their greatest weaknesses? What are they most passionate about? If money wasn't an issue, what would you do? Because everybody has a secret dream. I'm trying to get at that secret dream with that question. What kind of a personal network do they have? Are they very isolated and alone or not? I think you kind of get the hang of it. And I only have about another 25 minutes left, so I won't go through every one of these. All right, so I've been tracking my success rate, and I suggest you do that. So in addition to asking testimonials from the people that are successful with your program, track your success rate, because you will have successes and failures. In life coaching, it might be a little bit harder to identify, but I'm sure you can get a sense of whether they're successful or not. And I've had 5 failures out of the 353 people I've put through my program so far. So it's been a pretty good success rate, but you will have failure, and you have to accept that you will have some failure. The reason why I qualify my clients so carefully is the value of a good reputation. Once you get to 30 or 40 or 50 clients already done, put through your process, you've coached them, you're going to start to develop, if you're good at what you do, and I'm sure everybody on this call is, if you're good at what you do, you're going to start to generate word of mouth. So do not underestimate the power of saying, gee, I was coached by Daniela, and she was fantastic. She helped my troubled teenager. We've completely turned him around, and life is good again. Oh, well, I have a friend who has a friend who has troubled teens. So qualifying your clients so that you don't take on the wrong clients who are time suckers and who are likely not to change, want to change. You all have had that experience, right? And if they don't want to change, no amount of coaching, however good you are, is going to make any difference. And so word of mouth is a big part of what I do now. I've got 353 people through the coaching practice, right? And And so I'm at the stage right now where a lot of word of mouth is certainly helping me. All right, let's keep going, see if I can get through it. I learned this in the last month or so. How many of you guys have any of you used this 2 truths and 1 lie? I see Hazel nodding yes. All right. So I only learned about it in the last couple of months, but it's been really working well. So I'm going to try this on you guys. All right. I'm going to tell you my 2 truths and 1 lie. Here we are. I was captain of the Australian National University soccer team when I studied there to get my PhD. I was a single parent with 5 great kids until I met my current spouse, Dawn McMillan Firestone. And C, I flew hang gliders off 500-foot cliffs north of Sydney, Australia. Which one is a lie?
Can I answer?
Absolutely.
No, I can't. Somebody else asked.
Oh, you can't answer. That was Dawn. Absolutely not. The quiz is closed to family members. A, B, or C, guys? We're stuck until you answer. So somebody has to unmute themselves and at least guess.
About A.
Who said that?
Sylvie.
Okay. All right, Sylvie. Let's see. No. This is me as a young man. People don't believe it, but that is me at the Australian National University a long time ago. So I was captain of the ANU soccer team. And this is Dawn, and she and I have 5 great kids together. I wasn't a single parent with 5 great kids when I met her. And I did fly hang gliders. This is me flying my hang glider south of Canberra a long time ago. The pictures could be anyone, but you'll have to believe me, that's actually me. So I have found it really helps to be funny, or a little bit funny. And one of my young coaching clients, he's actually a keynote speaker. I coach him. If you wants the money, he says, you gots to be funny. But don't use offbeat humor like this. I put this in here. I won't even read it. You could read it for yourself. This is not the kind of humor that I use, all right? I just put it in there to show you what not to do. So this one is definitely off the table. So I do use quite a bit of humor in my coaching practice and in my marketing and in my keynote speaking. So I would say something like this: what did one flea say to the other flea? Shall we walk or take the dog? And everybody go, oh, that's cute. So G-rated humor is fine. And one of the most important things I think that comes across to my clients, and I'm sure to yours, is to be authentic. Like, I work for a living. This is not a hobby. And I tell people why I coach. I'm super passionate about it. And they can pick up on that I really care, and I'm sure you do too. That's what people are looking for today. Young people, not so young people, authenticity and caring and passion. And I tell people, I coach people because when I was 60 or 61, when I kind of found this, I realized that elder poverty rates were just incredible. This poor lady is 97. She's in a wheelchair. She's begging. The average Canada pension plan is $550 a month, which is really tough to live on. And the Social Security in the United States is a little bit higher, but still only $1,200 or $1,300. So for me, anyway, the only things that have worked for me has been real estate and owning a personal business for life. And that's why I coach. I want to help other people so that they're not like this poor lady. And so you have to really know why it is you do what you do. Because if you don't know that, you won't be able to convey that sense of commitment that I think is really important to marketing. I just clipped this out for you guys. I was blown away when I read this. This is from Bloomberg Business Week, a magazine from the United States, that I said that when you turn 40 in tech, people are trying to push you out the door. And when you turn 50 in every other, if you work for Bell Canada or even Rogers, Hazel, at 50, they start to say, I wonder if we can get rid of these people and get younger, cheaper people, right, who might be faster. But in China, they're now pushing people out the door at 30. So as life coaches, as a business coach, man, we have an unlimited supply of clients worldwide. And with Zoom, like we're doing today, we can have worldwide practices and really change lives for the better. And guys, I totally believe that, okay? You also have to know your competition. In my case, my competition is real easy to know. There's lots of real estate investment training out there. Most of it is terrible. And I get a lot of people who come to me after having had some other kind of coaching saying, I spent $42,000 US on Rich Dad, Poor Dad. I spent $61,000 Canadian learning how to be a house flipper. None of it worked. So can I learn something from you, Bruce? Because I'm not teaching that stuff. I teach stuff that I think really works. And they ask me how much I charge, and you can sort of see at the bottom what my rates are. So I would have anywhere from 10 to 12 clients. I just can't take on any more. If I were younger, I probably could. But I charge $1,750 to $3,500 a month for the coaching that I do. And I have anywhere from 10 to 12 clients at any one time. I coach them usually for 6 months to a year. And so it generates, sorry, you can do the math, it generates a reasonable income for me. We've all heard this before, selling is telling, but you know, this whole thing that I've been doing for the last now 40 minutes or so is about crafting a story, right? If you want to be successful as a marketer, don't sell, tell. Everybody okay with that, right? Don't sell, tell, all right? And I'm gonna just walk through this quickly because I have some other slides I want to get to before I run out of time. I have asked marketers for decades why marketing is important. Well, marketing is important, obviously, to hopefully turn into some sales. I get that, and I agree with that. But I have talked to dozens, for all I know, hundreds, but many, many dozens of really good marketers. And you know what? They don't really understand marketing. They're in that business, but they don't. And so what they'll tell you is marketing is really important, Bruce, because it builds your brand. I go, okay, I'm good with that. But like, what does that actually do for you? So I finally figured it out for myself. There's a missing link here, okay? And this goes back to the comment I made a moment ago about authenticity. So I'm just going to read this one too. Money invested in marketing builds your brand. That's good. But that allows you to create trust. And it's trust that allows you to sell, which generates more money for more marketing in a circle, right? Trust is the thing that we're really trying to do. So when I was talking about that life coach who has a very successful life coaching practice, and again, well into the 6 figures, by being such a devoted, intense Facebook group participant and LinkedIn participant, starting all kinds of conversations, right? And giving lots of good information and good advice and good coaching, I think, free. She has developed a coaching practice that is really phenomenal, right? And she has a really well-defined niche too, right? So her branding is created through her Facebook group and her LinkedIn profile, and her conversations build trust. And it's from that trust that she gets her sales, right? That's the missing link, right? We keep going. And as I said before, this coaching thing that I do, I tell people, this is not a hobby, right? Like, this is not a hobby business. I'm in it. It's a serious business. I mean, people are trusting me with their money and their time and their lives, and they trust you guys. So no, it is about, you know, making a commitment. So I do convey that to people. This is not a hobby, right? Oh, I'll do a little coaching. You know, there's a lot of people who are, oh, I'll do a little bit of realtor work. No, a part-time realtor, a part-time coach, in my opinion, is really not serving her clients or his clients properly, in my opinion. All right. So one of the things that I have, because I am teaching a bunch of coaches how to coach, right? And not just you guys today, but I actually have a course that I run. And I I ask them to do their own elevator pitch. So if you don't have your own YouTube channel, you can create one. I have the Prof. Bruce YouTube channel. It's free, you know, free. Free is a good price. I can afford that. And I really strongly recommend you do an elevator pitch. It could be as short as 15 seconds or as long as 2 minutes, but it can't be 10 minutes. It can be 15 seconds, it could be 30 seconds, it could be 1 or 2 minutes, but not longer than 2 minutes. And if you're a little bit shy, you can make it unlisted, so it doesn't have to be publicly available. But if somebody says, so Daniela, Dawn, what do? You just send them the link and say, well, this, you know, before we have a Zoom call or phone call, have a look at my YouTube channel, and this in particular. It's only 20 seconds or 30 seconds. It'll give you an idea, right? And before you do your elevator pitch, create a message map. This is not my thing, but if you actually go on YouTube and you put in the name Carmen Gallo, you can see his name here, Carmen Gallo. He's a Forbes contributor. He has a very good video, how to create a message map. And here's my message map. So I listen to that, and I have all the people that I coach, and I'm turning into coaches who do the stuff that I do. I get them to do a message map first, and then after that, they record their elevator pitch. And they sometimes have to do it 2 or 3 times. What the heck? It's unlisted. It's on YouTube. All right, so I'll give you my my 15-second message map pitch. All right. Hi, everybody. I'm Prof. Bruce. I am the product. I'm a great keynote speaker. I make the impossible possible in real estate. I'm a wonderful coach and mentor, and I'm a fine writer. If you need any help, let me know. That took about 12 or 13 seconds, right? If I'm tired, it takes 15. If I'm super energetic, it takes a little bit less. But that's kind of me, right? And it doesn't take very long to do it. And it's really important to do that. So you know exactly what your niche is and you know what your pitch is, right? All right, so we're getting towards the end now. And I put together this list of 20 things you need to do to produce an endless stream of grateful clients, okay? I'm learning how to write in marketees. I don't know if there's a word marketees, but I'm a terrible marketer in many ways because I'm a civil engineer and we don't have a lot of imagination, I might say, but I'm getting kind of better at this marketing language, although it's not natural to me. Here's the thing. Devote at least half a day a week to business development. Yeah, everybody's going to freak when I say that. Oh, I don't have time for that. I do 5 minutes of email once a week. That's not business development, guys. You'll have a coaching practice, but it's going to be pretty small. Now, it's not necessarily a half a day at all at one time, but I spend between a half a day and a day. So 10% to 20% of my time on biz dev. You know, I do those clarity calls, free. I do these webinars, free. You know, I do all kinds of free stuff. That's biz dev, right? So that would be number 1 on my list. Number 2, we talked about this, develop your irresistible coaching niche. Number 3, define your ideal client. We talked about that. What is the irresistible outcome of your coaching client, of your coaching? And by the way, just remember we're recording this and it will be on YouTube. And I guess, Dawn, you'll send the link to people if they ever wanted to watch it again for whatever reason.
Yeah, I'll absolutely do that.
All right, so it will be available to you guys. It's unlisted though, so don't put it up on some website somewhere. It's for you guys, right? And it's for ICF Ottawa. I'm doing this for ICF Ottawa and for my beautiful wife. Now, this one's a little bit longer. Market the heck out of your practice, right? So I went through all the stuff that I do, but Dawn, to your question that you asked earlier, free webinars are fantastic, right? People get to know you, especially on Zoom. They get to see you and hear you in person, ask you questions, right? So, and again, you could piggyback, you know, I do webinars. I get anywhere from, you know, today 6 or 7 people to usually about 70 to 80 people. And out of that, I will sign up, you know, anywhere from, not today, but in other audiences, anywhere from 10% of the audience to maybe as much as 15% of the audience. I don't do them anymore because I just can't handle the volume. I've got 135 or 140 people on a waiting list for coaching, so I just can't do it anymore. I'm that age. I can only do what I can do. But it really works, and people are very grateful, and you provide good information. I hope this has been one of those good information sessions for you. I do lots of blogging. I have that promotional product, you know. Yeah, I do lots of book giveaways, lots of YouTube channel giveaways and stuff like that. So it's all here. You'll be able to come back to this as well. Lots of email too. Next step was always be closing. Don't be shy about telling people you're a life coach and you're coaching troubled teens, you're coaching men in transition, you know, helping them, you know, re-energize and refocus and refashion their career. Don't be shy about that. Tell people. They actually want to hear that from you. Develop the application process. You saw mine. This one here is really hard for a lot of life coaches. Raise your prices, and you'll see in a minute why that's important. Build your reputation as a subject matter expert. That's a tremendous help to me because people really know me, now not just in Canada and the United States, but overseas as well. And, you know, do your elevator pitch. be able to explain what you do in 15 seconds, 30 seconds, something like that. Remember to be funny, have a sense of humor, be humble about your story. Like, you know, I don't have all the answers, and I don't think anybody does. So make your story funny, be humble, make it relatable. Obviously, ask a lot of questions. When I go to a party or I meet new people, I ask them a lot of questions about their lives and their families and their business and how they're preparing for retirement and all kinds of things. You know, it kind of leads them through the Socratic method to me. It is a bit self-serving, I must admit. And this next point is really important. I sit on the same side of the table as my clients. You know, so many people, you know, if you have a table, you know, a square table, they sit here and then your client sits here. I don't do that. When I'm negotiating deals, believe it or not, if you have like 3 people over here and they're expecting me and my team to sit over there, I actually sit next to them. I sit right in the middle. And it's kind of weird when you see those meetings that I do, but I'm sitting on the same side of the table. I want to be, as a coach, a lifetime advisor and a trusted advisor. My coaching agreement is only 1 or 2 pages. It's simple. It's written in English. And I make all of my coaching agreements are month to month. And I say to people, look, if I'm not providing enough value, if you don't feel I'm providing enough value, you just let me know. 30 days, we're done. And if I don't feel I'm providing enough value, I can get out of the agreement as well. So rather than saying, oh, it's a 6-month agreement and it's going to be $3,500 a month, and they kind of go, oh my God, that's 20 grand. You know, I say, no, it's a certain amount of money a month, but it's month to month. And if I'm not providing enough value, you don't feel that way, or I don't feel that way, either party can cancel. It's very strong, and it seems to put people at ease. And again, it takes that trust level one step up. Have a decent website, you know, for sure, and make it easy for people to book a call with you. I'm sure you all know that. And every once in a while, if you feel comfortable, you can do a live event. I do some live events. And I do a few Realtopia events about real estate and Startopia about being an entrepreneur. And I usually get about 60 to 65 people showing up. They pay me $200 or $300 to get a seat and listen to me talk about how they could start a business or start a real estate investment portfolio. So people are really paying me to market to them for 3.5 hours. So I call that negative cost marketing, all right? But it really seems to work. And this is easy stuff, guys. I asked former President Obama for help here for this ICF thing I'm doing today. And he said, you need to answer your damn phone. I can't tell you how many life coaches, and not just life coaches, but businessmen and women, don't answer their friggin' emails or phone calls or texts or other messages promptly. If you do nothing other than just get on with things and say, well, look, I'm tied up with the kids this weekend, and next week I got to move, and 10 days is way too long. If somebody Facebooks you or contacts you through LinkedIn or an email, and you say, I won't get to them until next week, that's too late. I'm really good at that, okay? And use a customer relationship management system. It could be very simple. It could just be a spreadsheet. I don't care, but follow up, okay, guys? And Dawn asked me as well, I'm almost at the end now, so I've got about 5 more minutes, and I know, Hazel, you have to go at 1, right? All right, so I'm gonna try and wrap it up, maybe not at 1, but very shortly after. Dawn asked me, how do you build confidence, right? Because look, Bruce, you know, you do this stuff and, you know, you have some confidence at least. How would I do it? Or how would somebody else maybe not quite as much? Well, you could get a Prof. Bruce, you know, promo band, Power Circle band, and you can look at the word believe. And what I tell people to do, and I do it before I give a keynote speech, I actually look at this thing, and where the word says believe, I actually tap on it like Dorothy in the Wizard of Oz. I go, I believe in myself. I tap it twice. I believe in myself, because it changes the primitive brain. It gives me some confidence. I'm okay. I know what I'm doing. So believe in yourself is really important. But anyway, she asked me, how do you build confidence, and in what sequence would you do things to get your coaching practice off the ground? Well, we know that if you're confident, you're probably going to have more sales. If you have more sales, you're going to feel even more confident. So how do you get to first base, right? Everybody sort of see the question that Dawn asked me? And here's what I suggest you do. You pole vault 3 feet, or you high jump 6 inches, all right? Take little tiny mouse bites, all right? So a little bit of success goes, ooh, that worked, that's good. I could do more of that, and then a little bit more. So how do you do that? So take mouse bites, right? So when I started, I about 5.5 years, I didn't have any clients. I didn't even know if I'd be any good at this. And I did have 20 years of teaching, right? And I have lots of business experience, but you know, I wasn't a coach. Like you guys are really well trained. So first thing I did was I just let people know what I'm doing. And lots of face-to-face. I talk to people, and I certainly, you know, I have about 9,000 active contacts in my newsletter list. So I let people know, hey, listen, I'm leaving the University of Ottawa, and I'm going to do some real estate investment and personal business for life coaching. You know, let me know if I could help in any way. So I did lots of face-to-face, lots of newsletter work, and then I piggybacked, and then I used Twitter a lot. I've got about 3,600 followers, so not really big. But I've got about 7,000 or 8,000 people who follow me on LinkedIn. I don't know how many on Facebook, but I have my own Facebook group there, so a few thousand anyway. So I let people know. And I love writing, so I wrote lots of books. This is a little mini book that I wrote, Real Estate Investing Made Easy. And I just send it out to people. You know, it's a $5 book on Amazon. The e-copy doesn't really cost me anything. So I'll say, hey, you know, I just did this book. Would you like a copy? People go, oh, yeah, that'd be cool. I don't know anything about real estate, but I'd like to know, right? So if you had a troubled teen, if you did a 15-page book like this and gave it a nice cover, you know, people put real value on that, right? And then I had my YouTube channel. I did lots with LinkedIn. I did 2 Realtopia events to begin, one in Ottawa, one in Toronto. I did lots of free webinars in my first 6 months, and I did lots of free clarity calls. But back then it wasn't with Zoom, it was just this way. And I didn't know what to charge. I started charging $450 a month for coaching clients. And that's what I meant when I said earlier, raise your prices. That was way too low. You know, I have some experience, right? So that was way too low. So I've been pushing the rates up in the last 5.5 years. And you can see on this slide, I have been signing clients at $3,500 a month, and I pitched my first client yesterday at $4,500. So I don't know what the upper limit is, but you know, you can give much better service to 10 or 12 clients if they're paying $3,500 a month than if you had, I don't know, 100 clients at $450 a month to make the same amount of money. So I learned to push my rates up, have fewer clients, better service to each individual, and it works a lot better for me and for them. This is just from my website. I let people come on my website, and they can just book a clarity call with me, right? They just presto magic. They can just put their name in, their email address, and they can schedule a call with me. I don't do anything except get on the Zoom call with them and talk to them for half an hour, 45 minutes. Sometimes it's a complete waste of time, but often it works. This is my blog. It's just a screenshot from my blog, and you can see how many blog entries there are. You know, there's probably anywhere from, I beg pardon? So there's anywhere from 4 or 5 to maybe as many as 7 or 8 a month, and it's free. People can go and they can read how to build an adaptive organization, what is quick sale value, the true story of Medicare in Canada, how to use cap rates to calculate values. I mean, there's lots of good information. Again, it's all free. People think I'm crazy. It's all free. No, go and enjoy yourself, because maybe people will come to the conclusion that I know something about my subject matter and will contact me and want some more coaching. And it works great. There will be, as you develop your coaching practice, there will be some niche extensions. So there will be some things that you don't know when you start your life coaching practice where you're going to end up. For me, I started coaching some pro athletes. I started teaching other people how to be Prof. Bruce co-coaches. I'm doing a course right now with 11 people in it. And I started doing some family office coaching, and these are things that just fell out of the practice that I've engaged in. So you've got to be open to changing your model as things move along, right? None of us have all of the answers when we start our business, and every business that you start is an experiment until proven otherwise. So if it's an experiment and see what works and what doesn't. Do more of what works and less, obviously, of what doesn't. So Dawn, Madam President, I think that's probably a good point to maybe ask if anybody else has a question before we move on with our day. Is there anything else that you think I should cover?
I think that's pretty good, Bruce. I think you should open it up to questions, and if there's a natural extension from the questions, take 5 minutes to go there.
Okay.
So Bruce, it's Suzanne. I have a question. You mentioned, I was just curious as to how long it took you from the 450 to the 4,500 a month.
Well, I haven't actually signed anybody up at 4,500. I pushed my rate up to 3,500.
Yeah.
And then yesterday I better be careful what I say, but I met a billionaire client. So I said, Don said, well, ask for more. So I did.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Suzanne, it is an experiment. I don't really have an answer on that, but it took, I went from 450 to I think 875. And people said fine. And then I went to 1750 and people said fine. And then I went to 3,500 and people said fine. So, I do explain to people, it's not a hobby, it's a business for me. I take it very seriously. And I wanted to coach fewer people more in depth. So I did put up my rates, but they get more for their money, I have to say. It took 5.5 years.
Okay, thank you.
Come on, you guys, don't be shy. I don't have fangs. You see? No fangs.
It's Sylvie. It's Sylvie. I have a question.
Sure.
Your rate is per month. And so I guess I was interested in the level of investment per month per client.
That's a great question. So what I do is I have a program. It's in my coaching contract, and I'd be happy to, if you want one, Sylvia, you can contact me through ICF Ottawa. I'd be happy to share a sample of my coaching contract. I'm quite happy to share it with ICF Ottawa and anybody on this call or anybody who sees it. So it's a 2-page contract. And the base level commitment is I meet with people one-on-one or 1-on-3, because some of these people that I coach, like this family office that I hope to sign up maybe next week before Christmas, actually, I'll be coaching this individual, his wife, and his 2 adult sons, right? So there'd be 1-on-4. So I would have 1 2-hour session, which is pretty intense, no interruptions, right? If you're answering your text, I'll end the meeting right away. So it could either be in person if they're local or via Zoom. In addition to that, what I have found is a lot of my clients have urgent, important stuff that they need input from their coach on. And so those are ad hoc, and they could be anywhere from 1 or 2 additional Zoom calls a month. And those Zoom calls could be as short as 15 or 20 minutes to as long as 45 minutes to an hour. And then in addition to that, there is a mid-month report that they have to do and submit it to me, because a big part of coaching, and you guys all know this, is accountability. So they tell me that they're going to do something. 2 weeks later, they send me a report telling me what they've done. So they have to do that, but I review it and comment back to it. In addition to that, I do have all of my clients, and this is very different from a lot of other coaches in my field. I have my clients submit a detailed agenda 3 days before every coaching session, without exceptions. And I add some things to that agenda, but every coaching session I do is tailored to the individual or the group, and it's not a one-size-fits-all practice. So that agenda is really important, and of course I challenge them on it and I add things to it as well. So there's quite a bit of preparation on my part and quite a bit of activity. So I would guess that I probably have a commitment to every one of my clients of between 5 and 10 hours a month. So it's quite involved, right? So even though at $3,500, it could be 10 hours, so it's $350 an hour, which is not really all that much when you think about a lawyer who probably knows 1/10 of about business of what I know, or 1/100th. They charge, at least in this area, $650 an hour. So I think it's reasonable, and people seem to say that that's fine. Now, there are some months where I only work 4 or 5 hours on the file, and then I'm doing better.
Okay, thank you.
Welcome.
And then I have a question for Don. I do want to get certified through ICF, so maybe we can chat about that at one point.
Yeah, absolutely. If you want to put I have your email address, so we can arrange a time to connect if you'd like to do that.
That'd be perfect. Thank you.
Okay, excellent.
All right. So if we don't have any other questions, Madam President, I'm going to end the meeting. And again, I want to thank everybody for listening to me for over an hour now. And Dawn, thanks very much for inviting me.
Yeah, thank you very
I
much.
want to thank you for your, I want to thank you for your time and all your advice. It's always interesting to hear someone's real experience. And thank you so much for being so real and wanting to share as much as you did. Thanks.
I really enjoyed it. I hope you did too. Bye, everybody.
Bye. Thank you. Thank you.
Bye-bye.